In this video, I briefly review a classification of forecasting methods. So forecasting methods can be classified into two general groups, qualitative methods and quantitative methods. So qualitative methods generally involve the use of an expert opinion of a situation. For example, if we want to predict what's going to happen with the sales of the company, here there's no numbers involved, and there is no actually numerical analysis of the situation. In qualitative, usually the person tries to find a similarity between the current situation with a past situation, and then remember what happened back then and try to generalize the situation or try to actually find the similarity between now and then, and based on what he remembered, what he or she remembers from the past, just tries to come with a forecast. So that's one way the qualitative method works. The other way that usually people try to come up with their opinion is that they try to connect it to connect whatever they're trying to predict, like sales, to other factors that they believe are important and they can affect the variable of interest, right? So for example, they believe that their sales is related to the interest rate. And now that they see and they believe that interest rate is gonna, let's say, go down, they will come up with a forecast. Like they may say, okay, so the interest rate is gonna go down by 1%, so the sales is gonna go up by, let's say, 5%, for example. So they just use their opinion rather than actually looking at the numbers. This is really not what we want to do in this course. So we're not going to deal with any of the qualitative methods at all in this chapter. The second general category would be quantitative methods. Now we're looking at the numbers. We're looking at, we're trying to come up with models that help us to come up with basically numerical and mathematical models that helps us to make hopefully better predictions. Quantitative methods in general can be categorized into two classes: causal forecasting and time series forecasting. So causal forecasting, I mean, we've done a lot of examples of causal forecasting in the previous chapter, in the regression chapter. And in causal forecasting, we try to connect the variable of interest to other factors, other external variables that we believe that they contribute to whatever we are trying to forecast, right? So for example, if you want to predict the sales, if you believe that interest rate or let's say population growth of the specific location that you're predicting for, or anything else, or I don't know, house price or whatever actually can affect your sale. So you just go back in time and just collect all these data, all these information, and try to come up with regression equation that that actually connects the dependent variable to independent variables that you are considering. Once you have that equation, assuming you know the value of external factors for the new case, for future, you can just plug them in to the equation and get the value of forecast for sales. So that's causal model, explaining the variable of interest using other external factors, completely different factors. that are usually either easier to predict, like population growth or actual population is easy, but sales is not easy to predict, right? This is something that is easier. Usually interest rate is easy to predict, at least for the short term, right? So these are the factors that are either easy to predict or they are something that are actually under your control. For example, you may predict the sales based on the number of online ads. So that's something, the number of commercials, that's something that is under your control. The number of people that are going to go out there and basically market your product, right? So causal forecasting, the second one, which is going to be most of our time in this chapter, most of our attention is going to be on the second group, and that would be time series forecasting. In time series forecasting, we'll look at the past values of the same variable of interest that we want to forecast. So if we want to forecast future sales, we just look at the past sales and then try to uncover the pattern that existed in the past and try to project it in the future. So that's basically what we are trying to do. Time series forecasting is going to be most of our time, most of our focus is going to be on time series forecasting. And just to, again, recap, we try to uncover a pattern in time series analysis and try to, once we have the pattern, we extrapolate the pattern into the future. We project the pattern into the future and make prediction for the future. But our main assumption is that past is gonna repeat itself. So whatever happened in the past, all the causes that existed in the market, they're gonna repeat, forcing the market in the same shape, in the same pattern, right? So that's basically the assumption here. And so that's just here we have the definition of time series analysis. The forecast, when the forecast is solely based on past values of the same variable. This is when we call the method a time series analysis.